Hello everybody and welcome to this web presentation. In this presentation, I would like to share some insights on two rather new rules in baseball. The collision rule for plays at the plate and the slide rule in double play situations. I feel very honored having been asked to prepare this presentation for you and the Federazione Italiana Baseball e Softball. Thank you for joining me. My name is Christian Posny. I'm in 30 plus years of umpiring in baseball right now. So I started in 1989 in Germany and was umpiring in Germany, Europe, and for international tournaments of the WBSC. I'm also an umpire instructor in Germany and Europe, and I'm the umpire director of the German Federation. Last but not least, I'm a member of the umpire commission of the WBSC Europe, the former CEB. I was born in 1971, so I'm 49 years old by now. I live in Düsseldorf, Germany. I'm married and the father of two sons. Besides baseball, I work as a IT project manager. And from the beginning on, when I was 15 years old, I was just loving this game of baseball. So here we are now and talk about some norms, rules, and interpretations. Let's briefly start with a look at some history and numbers. The collision rule was introduced in 2014 to the official baseball rules, and the double play slide rule was introduced in 2016, so 2 years later. And um, where do you find it in the rules? It's in 601I, collision plays at the home plate, and 601J, sliding to bases for double play. Um, when you look at those two rules, you also have to bear in mind that there is 601H, the obstruction rule, and 601A, the batter runner interference rule. I also looked at the PBUC of 2011 edition. This is the interpretation of Professional Baseball Umpire Corporation, and there it's 7.1 offensive interference section. Last but not least, I took into consideration a bulletin issued by the WBSC in 2015, a bulletin on collision plays. So let's start with a collision rule. The collision rule was designed to reduce the risk of severe injuries in home plate situations. You may like it or not, this is what the rule intends. So basically, avoidable collisions, so all the collisions that could be avoidable and still happen, they will be sanctioned. Unavoidable collisions, they are accepted, provided, and this is important, no flagrant or malicious contact is involved. And on the other hand, a free base pass must be granted for runners when no exception applies. So these are the four main outlines of the collision rule. Let's look into it detail a little bit. A collision is deemed avoidable when a runner has a free, not blocked pass to home plate. A free pass. Then a collision is avoidable. There's nobody and nothing in between the runner and home plate. Otherwise, a collision might be unavoidable. So, when the runner has no free pass to home plate, the pass is blocked by a fielder, mainly the catcher playing at home plate. And after all, avoidable collisions must be avoided at all times. So if there's nothing between you and home plate as a runner, there is no reason for a collision and it must be avoided. If you don't avoid it, if you seek contact or make intentional contact with a fielder or catcher, um, this will be a violation of the rule. Let's have a brief look at the layout around home plate. So we all know there are many ways, many base passes for a runner reaching home plate. One might be just running straight down the line if he started from third base, or maybe he comes around in a kind of circle when he's circling third base from his way from second base, passing third base and reaching to home plate. So many base passes are possible for a runner. So if you want to grant a free base pass to the runner as a fielder or catcher, you probably will be potentially non-blocking in this area. So if you station yourself in this area, you will be potentially not blocking the runner's pathway. If you position yourself as a fielder in this area, you're potentially blocking the pathway. But again, it really depends on how the runner actually runs towards home plate. So, an avoidable contact will be given when the runner is leaving his direct pathway to the plate in order to initiate contact. So, this is avoidable collision. Keep in mind, if the runner has a free pathway to home plate, and then he's leaving this direct pathway in order to initiate contact, this is a violation of the rule. Indicators for avoidable contact, or another keyword in inappropriate action, are: the runner is taking no effort to touch home plate. He's sliding far away from home plate. This will be an indicator. Lowering his shoulder, the runner pushing with his hands, arms, or elbows. If the runner does a feet first slide, the runner's buttocks and legs should hit the ground before contact with the catcher. Otherwise, he's right jumping into the fielder playing at home plate. If the runner performs a head first slide, the runner's body should hit the ground before contact with the catcher. This is important if you rate as an umpire whether or not contact was avoidable, whether or not the action applied by the runner was inappropriate or appropriate. A collision is unavoidable, on the other hand, when the runner has no free pass and the pass is blocked. Blocking of the pass is only legal when: situation 1, the fielder already is in possession of the ball when blocking, or number 2, the fielder must assume a position in order to field a thrown ball. So the thrown ball towards home plate is off. It's a bad throw, and the catcher or the fielder who is playing home plate must move actually to field this ball. And then by doing so, he's getting into the path of the runner, so the pass is blocked. But this blocking would be legal because he's fielding a thrown ball. Remember, in this situation, a collision is probably unavoidable, and blocking is only legal when one of those two reasons apply. When blocking is legal, a collision is assumed unavoidable, but still, keep in mind, action by the runner must be appropriate, and the runner may not act flagrantly or maliciously, um, like trying to knock out the ball out of the catcher's glove with a fist or something like this. If it comes to an avoidable collision, the correct call would be interference. On an interference call, the ball is dead. Time. So as a consequence, the runner is out, and all other runners return to the last base last legally touched at the time of the interference. All plays before the interference are of course not affected. Whether or not the catcher maintains control over the ball does not matter in an interference situation. So even if the catcher loses the ball, but you have ruled interference before, the runner will be out. It's still interference. The ball is dead, and all the other runners must return to the base last legally touched at the time of the interference. In case this avoidable collision is accompanied by the flagrant or malicious contact, this will be sanctioned with an ejection. So it's kind of unsportsmanlike conduct in this case. Flagrant contact after a runner was safe at home plate. Just imagine the runner steps on the plate, then does a flagrant contact to the catcher just after touching home plate. This will be sanctioned as well, but the run counts, and then the runner is ejected for this kind of action. So this is the reason why an avoidable collision would be ruled as interference. On the other hand, remember the catcher or the fielder playing home plate must grant a free pass to the runner. And blocking is only legal in two situations, as outlined before. Blocking without a legal reason will be called, therefore, an obstruction. This is 601H1 type A obstruction, because a play is made on the runner, obstructed. The runner was awarded home plate in an obstruction situation. Other runners are placed by umpire's judgment. An actual collision is not required to call obstruction. This is to keep in mind. You don't have an actual contact between the runner and the fielder at home plate to call obstruction. And to make it not so easy, there are some exceptions. And this comes to you as an umpire in your judgment. First, obstruction is called only when the progress of the runner was actually hindered or impeded. So a brief blocking with the runner still far away will not be called obstruction. Imagine the situation where a runner comes from second base, circles third, and the catcher in this moment is briefly blocking the pathway. But the runner is still 20 feet away, so this is not an obstruction. No obstruction will be ruled when the runner would have been called out even without the catcher blocking the plate. So in this situation, imagine the runner is circling third base. The catcher already receives the ball and was blocking the pathway before. Yeah? But there is no way, no possible way this runner will be safe at home plate. So no obstruction call will be done in a situation like this. And third, no obstruction will be ruled when the collision could have been avoided by the runner by sliding. If the runner can slide and avoid a collision by this, no obstruction will be ruled. Very important to know, collision rule obstructions do not apply for force plays, only for tag plays at home plate. So when there's a force play at home plate, there can be no obstruction be called. And as for the runners, it's the same for the catchers. Catchers may not use unnecessary or forcible contact on tag plays. So it must be, I would say, reasonable. Using a knee, shin guard, elbow or forearm is prohibited. A violation could be subject to Rule 801D, which will be followed by an ejection because of unsportsmanlike conduct. Well, please note, we will come to some examples now. Please note that some clips were recorded before today's rules were in effect. So some calls would be different today because of rule changes. We look at the clip from today's edition of the rulebook. Let's start with a clip from the WBSC website's umpire section, uh, and well, let's have a look at it. Well, let's have a look again. From this point, you see the base pass of the runner. He is walking a little bit outside of the 3-foot line, of the fall line, and heading toward home plate. The catcher is fielding the ball, uh, and on the other side of the fall line. But now the runner changes pathway. He crosses the line, and this was obviously to initiate contact with the catcher, running upwards and pushing with his hand. So, by interpretation, that's interference. The collision, maybe because of the position of the catcher, was unavoidable, but this collision was intended. It was intended to dislodge the ball, and the pathway was changed. So on the interference, the runner is out. Also, the contact was ruled flagrant, malicious contact. So the runner on this play will be ejected as well. Let's look at the next one. So what you see here is that the catcher is receiving the ball. Yes, he's blocking the pathway, but now he's in possession of the ball, so he's allowed and it's legitimate to block the pathway. The runner is on the line, running now a little bit inside, but there you see it. What happens? He tried to push the ball out of the glove by using his hand. So this is interference. The catcher was in possession of the ball, so no obstruction. The collision probably was unavoidable because the catcher was blocking, but he was legally blocking the pathway. Uh, but the collision was intended and it was not appropriate. So the runner is out, and because the contact was flagrant, the runner has to be ejected in this play. I go a little bit back in this video clip to have some thought about the positioning of the umpire in this play. So if you're on this first baseline extended, almost first baseline extended position, it might be that you lose some information here. So from my perspective, I would suggest to rather be on the third baseline extended, which would be here. Why is that? First, I can I can much better evaluate whether or not the catcher is blocking the runner's pathway to the plate. Second, I can I think I can better in see whether or not the runner what kind of pathway the runner chooses when he's about here, reaching the dirt. And now he has his pathway to the plate, and if he's changing it from this point on, I would be in a much better position to see it from here if he's now going to this side or this side, uh, maybe exactly in order to initiate contact. Let's look at another one. That's kind of tricky. In the moment the ball arrives at home plate, the catcher feels it and turns um, to apply a tag on the runner um, coming to the home plate. So in this moment, he's blocking the pathway, but this would be legal because he will now be in possession of the ball. The runner is very close and he has a direct pass that is now blocked. And those two situations occur almost at the same time. So there is no way for the runner to avoid this collision, and this collision is just unavoidable. And in this situation, I don't see any malicious contact by the runner. He's not pushing, he's not lowering his shoulder. So in this case, we would look at it at a no call. So catcher blocks the pathway to field the thrown ball, no obstruction. Collision is unavoidable when the catcher moves into the runner's pathway. No interference. No flagrant action was involved, so no ejection. This is just a no call. Another one. And for those of you who know this scene with Buster Posey, you know what will happen next. Yeah? Buster Posey uh, is fielding the ball in front of home plate, and the runner has he a free pass to the base to home plate? Yes, he has. But he is obviously, as a runner, initiating contact because all he had to do was sliding or running or whatever, going directly to home plate. But he was seeking and intentionally making contact to the catcher in the situation. And to be honest, those situations, the rule makers, they don't want to see anymore. Not in an adult league and not in youth league. So this was why the rule was actually uh, put into effect. And there you see it. Yeah? But suppose he is turning around to apply a tag, the base pass still free. Yeah? And the runner is going at the catcher to seek intentional contact in a malicious, inappropriate way. So that's interference. Time, the runner is out, the runner is ejected, and all other runners return to the base last legally touched. Now you judge for yourself when you see it in the replay. I stop it right here. So if you come to the conclusion as follows, the catcher is not blocking in this position, and the runner leaves his free base pass to initiate contact in this case. That's interference, for sure. The runner employs malicious inappropriate action. Why is that? Because he's almost jumping into the catcher. So he's not having a contact to the ground before making contact to the catcher. So runner is ejected. But again, remember, those clips were recorded before this rule was in effect. So from today's perspective, a different ruling uh, must be applied. And another one. Let's have a look again. Sorry for that. I think for this we need another replay. Here we go. Excuse me for this mistake. I'll try again. Now I got it. So this is the correct scene yet that you must see, because the runner, maybe he's now in possession of the ball, but he was already before blocking, and this action what he's performing here is blocking the base pass for the runner. This is not legal. So in this case today, this is obstruction. The runner must be ruled safe at the plate. Again, another scene that nobody wants to see. So this is a key scene in this play. Um, Even before receiving the ball, the catcher was clearly blocking the pathway of the runner. And so in this case, uh, it was a late slide, maybe a little bit too late, but still, um, that is obstruction. The pathway was blocked without exception that is applying, and so the ruling must be obstruction in this case. If you, as an umpire, think that the runner's action is inappropriate or malicious, then you can rule him safe on reaching the plate because of the obstruction, and then eject him. Please note as well the position of the umpire in this play. This is I would not recommend to be so close in an amateur baseball game, but well, he's really right over it. So in this case, you see the runner coming from third base towards home plate, and the catcher is standing just in front of home plate. He's not blocking or anything. Please also note the plate umpire's position, and a very perfect position to see this play here. Now, with the receiving the ball, the catcher turns and tries to apply the tag, which of course is perfectly legal. But still, now that the catcher is blocking the pathway, a collision, when it happened, when it would happen, it will be unavoidable. So, and as long as there's no malicious contact involved, everything is fine. And now here you see the catcher tagging him, so he will be out. The only confusion that was in this play, because the plate umpire really used a very solid and good timing, and took his time to call him out. So everybody was a little bit confused, and they started a second play when the runner was returning to home plate. So this was unnecessary because the plate umpire already called him out. So, as a resume, the catcher is not blocking in this situation before receiving the ball. With possession of the ball, he is moving on the base pass for the tag play. This is total legal play. The runner is out. In case of collision, probably unavoidable. That's not a good angle to see it because you're missing the beginning. That's a better one. You see the catcher started off inside, then he was fielding the ball and he had to move over here to field the ball. So he was crossing the pathway of the runner and blocking it. But now he's in possession of the ball, and this is perfectly legal. The runner is not initiating any contact, so he's just running and trying to get out of the way. And again, sorry for that. You saw the plate umpire being in a perfect position on the third baseline extended. So this play was under review, but the outcome was this is a legal play. The catcher moves across a base pass to field a thrown ball. With possession of the ball, moving to the base pass for the tag play. This is a legal play. The runner is out, and in case of a collision, probably unavoidable. Let's look at a last example. So this is a key situation. Maybe the foot of the catcher was a little bit on the line before, but this does not really matter because the runner was still far away, uh, uh, just reaching the dirt circle here. And now the throw comes and it's off, so it's a bad throw, and the catcher goes up and reaches for it, and by that he's crossing the runner's pathway. So yes, he's blocking, but this is one of the two legal exceptions when a catcher or any fielder playing at home plate is allowed to do that. And so there is no there is no violation of any rule in this situation. Please note again position of the plate umpire. He's perfect on the third baseline extended position. Still again, he's very close. This is dangerous. So think about it if you want to be that close. I think personally, if you're 3 steps more away on the third baseline extended, you will see the same, but you're a little bit out of this really danger zone here. So, for this last example, the catcher moves across a base pass to field a thrown ball. This is legal. This is not obstruction. With possession of the ball, he's moving to the base pass for the tag play. So this is a legal play and the runner is out. Um, they have contact in this situation. So they have a collision, a light collision. And this collision, of course, is unavoidable. So there's no illegal action involved in this play. So to sum this up with the collision rule, especially for umpires, about the handling. Well, you have to study the rules. You have to know what we just outlined. You have to bear in mind, was the collision avoidable or was it unavoidable? Was the catcher blocking with a legal reason or with no impact on the runner? Or was he blocking without a legal reason? So this would be potential obstruction. And then, was inappropriate or flagrant malicious contact involved? This would be ground for an additional ejection. The plate umpire, please remember, in most cases, third baseline extended will be the best position. And now to be honest, in most of the plays at the home plate, especially when the runner starts from third base, from a starting position on third base, you don't have the time to evaluate your position. You should move automatically in the third baseline extended position to see everything that is important. The base pass, the blocking, and inappropriate or flagrant malicious actions. Field umpires, whenever possible, try to watch the action at the plate. Why? Because if there's a discussion, and I assume most of us, we don't have video reviews on the field, use conference to sort out tricky situations, like the umpires they do right here. When asked by managers, players, explain the decision of interference, obstruction, or ejection to the manager. But by doing so, use the precise wording, the keywords we just outlined. If you review this presentation, you will find those keywords. Those keywords are avoidable, unavoidable, blocking with legal reason, inappropriate, flagrant, or malicious contact. So if you use those keywords, you can make yourself very clear according to the rules in short words. Let's have a look at the slide rule for double plays now. As mentioned earlier, the double play slide rule was introduced 2 years after the collision rule was introduced. The key facts. Almost the same as a collision rule at the plate, um, this rule will reduce the risk of severe injuries in double play situations. The rule of collision at the home plate and the double play slide rule, they are similar, but they are not equal. The main concept of the double play slide rule is a bona fide slide. A bona fide slide is required by the runner. And contact between the runner and the fielder is only accepted when the fielder blocks a runner's legal pathway and a bona fide slide is executed. So a little bit, you remember this of the collision play. So a legal pathway is blocked and the runner is doing a bona fide slide. Bona fide means so much as like a loud slide that is accepted. So only if those two things are given, contact is accepted. So it will be interference in the situation of a double play when there is an intent to break up a double play. This could be happen on any base. And second, the runner is initiating or attempts to make contact. And third, the runner is not engaging in a bona fide slide. If those three things come together, you'll have an interference. So let's look at what a bona fide slide actually means. The characteristics of a bona fide slides are four things. First, the runner must touch ground before reaching the base. Not with reaching the base, but before reaching the base. So touch the ground before reaching the base, not jumping into the base. The runner is able and attempts to reach the base with his hand or foot. That leads to the assumption that the runner must slide within the vicinity of the base, not too far away, so he cannot touch the base with a stretched out arm or foot. He must be able and attempting to reach the base with his hand or foot. Third, the runner is able and attempts to remain on the base after the slide. This applies to all bases except for home plate. Home plate you can overslide. But on all the other bases, you must be able and attempt to remain on the base. You may not overslide. And fourth point, slides within the reach of the base. The runner may not changing pathway to initiate contact. So again, here you find the concept that also applies for collisions at home plate. Not changing the pathway to initiate contact. This is the key here. So all those four things must be given, and then you can have a bona fide slide. And this is what the runner is required to do. So it's not a bona fide slide when you're rolling as a runner rolling into a base, or that what we call a roll block. That is not a bona fide slide. Or when you seek intentional contact or attempt to contact by elevating or kicking your runner's leg above the fielder's knee, or by throwing your arms or upper body. Those actions do not constitute a bona fide slide. They eventually will constitute an interference. And if you're not engaging in a bona fide slide and there is contact, remember the three prerequisites. Then you will have interference. And of course, time. The ball is dead. So the runner who is doing the interference is out, and the better runner is out as well. So we have 2 outs on this play for breaking up the double play. All other runners return to the last legally touched base. Again, let's look at a couple of examples. Please note again, some clips were recorded before today's rule were in effect, so some calls would be different today because of rule changes. But we look at the clips from today's edition of the rule book. This is 2020, and of course, maybe some of the rulings would be different today. Let's start. That did not work out. Sorry for that. Let's try it again. And there you saw it very shortly. He just came off the back. I try to he's losing contact with the back by oversliding here. You could also argue that maybe the slide was too late, and I'm not quite sure. But oversliding the base, that was obvious. So he was going past the base. This is not a bona fide slide, so interference must be ruled here. The better is out, the better runner is out, and the runner. Both are out. Time situation. So what the runner is doing here, this is what is called rolling into the base. Yeah, he's reaching the base, and then his action is like a rolling and committing thereby interference situation. So this is interference. The runner is out, the ball is dead, the runner is out, and the better runner is out as well. This play here appears at the home plate. And this is a pretty good example because the runner is on the line. He has, of course, a free passway to the home plate, and now he's changing direction. He's leaving his base pass with the obvious intent to initiate a contact, and this, of course, is not a bona fide slide. This is interference, and the ball is dead, the runner is out, and the better runner is out as well. Let's look at another one. Sorry for that. So what you see here, this slide was really late, and he was not touching ground before reaching the base. He was touching the base while jumping into the base. Furthermore, he's oversliding second base. So this is a pretty obvious interference situation. And you see the umpires, they are ruling accordingly directly. So not touching ground before the base and sliding past the base, not a bona fide slide interference. So a last example. I tried to stop it at the right moment. Ah, I did not succeed. I tried again. Let's look at the replay, but I think you already get the impression why this would be an interference, at least today. Just one click too late. Yeah, this time I get it. So this is obviously elevating your leg and your foot above the fielder's knee. Well, way above the fielder's knee. So this is interference. Same as the other interferences. In this situation, it's not a bona fide slide. He's not touching the ground before reaching the base, and he's elevating his leg above the fielder's knee. So that's interference. Time. The runner's out, and the better runner is out as well. To conclude the double play slide rule, here are some handling advices. Study rules. As outlined before, be prepared. Know the differences of the double play slide rule and the collision rule at home plate. They are pretty similar. Um, First of all, was it a double play situation? Was it a bona fide slide? Know the four factors that define bona fide slide. Did the fielder block or move into the runner's legal pathway? Remember, if a fielder if a fielder moves into the runner's legal pathway, a contact is accepted. Uh, but still, it may not be a malicious or flagrant contact. Was intentional contact involved? So remember this one clip at home plate where the runner was really leaving his base pass and intentionally contact was established. Field umpires, be aware, it's fast moving action. You really have to prepare it and focus in the double play, potential double play situation. You only have one shot to look at the play. Um, because again, I don't assume that you have video reviews in your home country. Plate umpire, when possible, watch the action. There's not much help you can offer by your position from home plate, but every help will be appreciated if it's needed. When asked why you ruled on an interference or not, you should be able to explain the decision. And again, use precise wording. And the most important keyword here is the bona fide slide principle. So you have to be able to explain this why it wasn't a bona fide slide. For example, it wasn't a bona fide slide because he slid over the bag. And if you have situations in your games, I always suggest that you review those situations after the game with your colleagues. Maybe there is some video footage or evaluator in the stands. So take this chance to review it. By this, I come to my conclusion and thank you for listening and watching. I hope that we all will be on the field pretty soon again. And I wish you all the best. Stay safe and play ball.